Hello and welcome to Making Sense of Music. This video tutorial will demonstrate how to construct the circle of fourths and fifths key signatures. In order to construct the circle of fourths and fifths, you must be able to work out the major scale in every key. We use this circle to work out key signatures. Because you completed Lesson 4, the major scale, it is now possible for you to work out all 30 key signatures. Let's look at this diagram in more detail. This circle is divided into 15 segments. We have 3 coloured rings. These rings are colour coded to make learning easier. The pink ring. This tells us how many sharps and flats are required in each key. The blue ring. Major key signatures. There are 15 in total. The green ring. Minor key signatures. There are 15 in total. Finally, we have a black line. This line divides the lower half of the diagram into 2 parts. This line is called the separation line. The separation line is there to let us know which key signatures contains accidental notes. To the right, all accidental notes must be sharps. To the left, all accidental notes must be flats. Every major key has a relative minor key. The relative minor key is always the 6th note of the major scale. 30 key signatures, 15 major keys, 15 minor keys. Here we have the major scale and the circle of fourths and fifths. As you can see, the circle of fourths and fifths is already completed. Our starting point is the major scale in the key of C. All we require are the 1st, the 5th and 6th notes of the major scale. Here they are highlighted in the colour-coded blue and green. Here we have highlighted the major scale in the key of C. The key of C is the only scale that does not contain any accidental notes. We will now darken the circle slightly. We always start at the top of the circle. Because the key of C does not contain any accidental notes, we can now enter 0 into the pink segment. We can now enter C into the top blue ring, and as you can see, the 6th note of the major scale is A. A is the relative minor in the key of C, so we can now enter A into the green ring. We have now completed our first segment. C is the major key, A is the minor key, and both these key signatures do not contain any sharps or flats. We can now remind ourselves of the separation line and put sharps to the right and flats to the left. There is a reason why this is called the circle of fourths and fifths. If we travel in a clockwise direction from this segment, we always use the 5th note of the major scale to complete the next segment. If we travel in an anti-clockwise direction from this segment, we always use the 4th note of the major scale. We are now going to travel in a clockwise direction using the 5th note. As you can see, the 5th note in the major scale is G. We can now highlight the major scale in the key of G and now fill in the next segment to the right. Number 1 can now be entered into the pink ring. G is the major key and the 6th note E is a relative minor key. We now repeat the same process again. The 5th note in the major scale of G is now D. We can now go to the major scale in the key of D. We can now enter number 2 into the pink segment. D can be entered into the blue ring and B can be entered into the green ring. The 5th note in the major scale of D is A, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of A. We can now enter number 3 into the pink ring. A can be entered into the blue ring and F sharp can be entered into the green ring. The 5th note is E, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of E. We can now enter number 4 into the pink segment. E can be entered into the blue ring and C sharp can be entered into the green ring. The 5th note is B, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of B. We can now enter number 5 into the pink segment. B can be entered into the blue ring and G sharp can be entered into the green ring. On the major scale chart, A flat is highlighted. Because we are on the right side of the separation line, we must use the musical alphabet to convert A flat to a sharp. A flat is also G sharp, so we can now enter G sharp. The fifth note is F sharp, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of F sharp. We can now enter number 6 into the pink ring. F sharp can be entered into the blue ring, and we have to convert E flat to D sharp. D sharp can now be entered into the green ring. The fifth note is C sharp, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of C sharp. We can now enter number 7 into the pink segment. As you can see, we have now reached the separation line. We do not need to proceed any further. C sharp can be entered into the blue ring and B flat has to be converted to a sharp, so we can now enter A sharp into the green ring. We now go back to the top segment and the key of C. We have now moved the blue section over to the fourth notes of the major scale. We can now move in an anti-clockwise direction using the fourth notes of the major scale. As you can now see, F is the fourth note of the major scale, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of F. We can now enter number 1 into the pink segment. F can be entered into the blue ring and D can be entered into the green ring. The fourth note is B flat, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of B flat. We can now enter number 2 into the pink segment. B flat can be entered into the blue ring and G can be entered into the green ring. The fourth note is E flat, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of E flat. We can now enter number 3 into the pink segment. E flat can be entered into the blue ring and C can be entered into the green ring. The fourth note is A flat, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of A flat. We can now enter number 4 into the pink segment. A flat can be entered into the blue ring and F can be entered into the green ring. The fourth note is C sharp, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of C sharp. This now presents us with two problems. The first is that we already have a key signature in the key of C sharp. Because we are to the left of the separation line, we have to convert C sharp to D flat. We can now enter number 5 into the pink segment. D flat can be entered into the blue ring and the sixth note, B flat, can be entered into the green ring. The fourth note is F sharp, so we can now go to the major scale in the key of F sharp. We can now enter number 6 into the pink segment. F sharp has to be converted into G flat. Now G flat can be entered into the blue ring and the sixth note, E flat, can be entered into the green ring. The fourth note is B. This now presents us with another problem. We already have two major key signatures in the key of B and also B flat. To get around this problem, we have to bend the rules. In the musical alphabet, there are no accidental notes between B and C. If we were to flatten the note C, we would have C flat, which also would be B. The same applies to B sharp. The same also applies to E sharp and F flat. We can now go to the major scale in the key of B. So we can now enter C flat into the blue ring and the sixth note is A flat. We can finally enter A flat into the green ring. This is the correct method of working out key signatures. This shows yet again the importance of the musical alphabet and the major scale. We will now demonstrate how to work out key signatures from memory. Here we have every key signature filled in on the circle of fourths and fifths. You already know the acronym Father Charles Goes Down and Ends Battles. So the letters we require in a chronological order are F, C, G, D, A, E, B. So now let's darken the circle slightly. We can now expose the pink ring in full. Starting at the top, we can enter 0 and number outwards both sides until we get to 7. We can now enter C into the top blue ring in the major key. By knowing where all the C major key signatures are, this makes it easier to construct from memory. We have a C sharp and a C flat in the number 7 segment either side of the separation line. C sharp to the right and C flat to the left of the separation line. We know that A is a relative minor in the key of C. So we can enter A at the top under C major, and then we can enter A flat and A sharp into the green rings at the bottom of the circle as shown. A sharp to the right and A flat to the left. The Father Charles acronym is used twice in each major and minor key. The second acronym must contain accidental notes. We can now enter sharps and flats to remind us which side of the separation line the accidental notes are situated. Sharps to the right, flats to the left. Starting at the top of our diagram, we can now enter F to the left of C. So we now have F and C, Father Charles. So the next letter we require travelling in a clockwise direction is G, then D, then A, then E, then B. This completes the first acronym. The next acronym must contain accidental notes. Because we are to the right of the separation line, we can now enter F sharp. We already have C sharp and C flat placed into their correct places in the circle, so the next note we require is G flat, then D flat, then A flat, then E flat, then B flat. We have now completed the major key signatures. We can now fill in the minor key signatures. We use the same process again, starting from the top. We already have A minor highlighted. A is followed by E. We can now enter E, then B. B is the last note in the acronym. So once again, the next acronym must contain accidental notes. We can now enter F sharp, then C sharp, then G sharp, then D sharp. A sharp and A flat are already entered. A flat is followed by E flat, then B flat. B flat is the last note of the acronym, so we are now starting the next acronym. We can now enter F, then C, then G, and finally D. This now completes the minor key signatures, and we now have all 30 key signatures and the number of accidental notes required in every key. Here we have Lauren, a Year 7 student, and she is going to complete key signatures from memory. Now could you please do the circle of fifths?
We start with the key C, and we go C to G, G to D, D to A to E, E to B, B to F sharp to C sharp, which we then convert C sharp to D flat, C sharp to A flat to E flat to B flat to F, and that's the...
Yeah. You're now going to construct key signatures from memory. Yeah, put down on the table, put it in place. Roll the paper up. Just move it that way a bit. That's okay. Just out the sun. Some light's going on the paper. How many key signatures are there? Can you remember? 30 key signatures?
I have 30